Drake thought he was ready for round two. He stepped back into the ring, calling himself the real boogeyman, dropping bars meant to intimidate, meant to reclaim the crown. But instead of fear, all he got was laughter. Kendrick Lamar didn't just respond, he crushed every ounce of momentum Drake thought he had. This wasn't a battle. It was a dismantling. The moment Drake's track hit streaming platforms, fans swarmed in. Social media lit up not with hype, but with memes. "Should have stayed quiet," one fan wrote. "Kendrick already buried him." Another simply said, "This is embarrassing." And the worst part? Kendrick didn't even need to release another full diss. His silence after Drake's so-called comeback was louder than anything Drake could spit. Hip-hop insiders are whispering the same thing. Drake's timing is off. His energy is forced, and Kendrick's dominance has already sealed the narrative. Every attempt Drake makes only reminds the world who's really in control. Kendrick isn't chasing the crown. He already owns it. Drake's just performing in Kendrick's shadow, so the question is clear. Has Drake finally hit the wall? Or is this the beginning of the end for the self-proclaimed boogeyman? The rap world has always thrived on competition, on lyrical warfare, and on the hunger to prove who stands at the very top. For years, Drake positioned himself as untouchable, the global superstar who could dominate the charts while still keeping his foot in the streets. His blend of hit-making and slick bars made him seem invincible. But then came the storm. Kendrick Lamar. What started as subtle jabs between the two exploded into one of hip-hop's most intense rivalries in recent memory. Kendrick's pointed lines, his unrelenting precision, and his refusal to play by industry politics shook Drake's image to its core. While Drake leaned on his massive fan base and mainstream dominance, Kendrick relied on razor-sharp lyricism and authenticity. When Kendrick dropped his lethal diss tracks, the culture shook. Fans called it a masterclass. Critics hailed it as a lyrical assassination, and suddenly, Drake, the man who never seemed to lose, looked rattled. Round one wasn't just a battle. It was a statement. Kendrick Lamar was not only in the conversation, he was controlling it. Now, months later, Drake tried to reclaim his ground. Round two was supposed to be his moment. He branded himself the real boogeyman, an ominous title meant to strike fear. But the reaction told a different story. Instead of sparking hype, Drake's comeback ignited memes, jokes, and a wave of disappointment. For fans, the contrast couldn't be clearer. Kendrick didn't even need to respond immediately. His silence after Drake's track spoke volumes, as if he was telling the world, "I don't even need to try to beat this." And the culture seemed to agree. From hip-hop blogs to Twitter threads, the verdict was nearly unanimous. Drake had miscalculated. To understand why round two hit so flat, you have to look deeper at both artists' trajectories. Drake's career has thrived on consistency, on always delivering enough to stay relevant. But Kendrick's career has thrived on impact, dropping bodies of work so strong they don't just enter the conversation, they redefine it. And that difference is now playing out in real time. This isn't just another rap beef. This is a clash of legacy, a fight for who truly defines hip-hop in this generation. And if round one felt like a wake-up call, round two feels like a nail in the coffin. When Drake finally stepped back into the ring for round two, the world was watching. This wasn't just another rap beef, it had become the storyline of hip-hop. Fans, critics, and even casual listeners had one question: could Drake recover after the damage Kendrick inflicted in round one? Drake came forward, branding himself as the real boogeyman. A bold declaration meant to flip Kendrick's own imagery against him. On the surface, it sounded threatening. But the problem wasn't in the message, it was in the delivery. The track lacked the venom, the precision, and most importantly, the cultural sting that Kendrick had mastered. Instead of fear, the internet responded with laughter. Almost immediately, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram filled with memes. Side-by-side comparisons of Kendrick's surgical bars versus Drake's forced threats went viral. Fans mocked Drake for trying too hard, and many pointed out that the track felt rushed, more reactionary than revolutionary. Even die-hard Drake supporters admitted, privately, that the energy wasn't there. But the real conflict went deeper than just a weak track. For Drake, this was about legacy. For years, he had managed to dodge the reputation of being soft or industry protected by proving his commercial success. But Kendrick wasn't attacking Drake's sales. He was attacking his credibility, his artistry, his very identity as a rapper. And that's a battlefield Drake had never dominated. Here lies the twist. Kendrick didn't need to immediately respond to Drake's round 2. His silence became its own weapon. The culture interpreted Kendrick's lack of urgency as confidence. He didn't need to rush into the booth, he had already won. Social media boiled with comments like, "Kendrick's silence is louder than Drake's entire diss." And then, industry voices began to weigh in. DJs, hip-hop journalists, even other rappers subtly picked sides. Many praised Kendrick's discipline, comparing him to a heavyweight boxer who knows when to throw the knockout punch. Meanwhile, Drake's move was seen as desperation, a man scrambling to keep control of a battle that had already slipped from his hands. What made this twist even more dramatic was the timing. As Drake's song struggled to hold momentum, Kendrick's older disses started climbing streaming charts again. Instead of sparking a new wave, Drake's response actually reignited Kendrick's dominance. This was the exact opposite of what Drake had hoped for. The hip-hop world now found itself at a crossroads. Was this the beginning of the end for Drake's throne? Or was he simply regrouping, waiting for another chance to prove himself? Either way, one fact became clear: Kendrick Lamar had shifted the culture. And no matter how loud Drake tried to roar, the silence from Kendrick echoed louder. Just when fans thought the dust was settling, things took a darker, more personal turn. Drake's second-round diss, already struggling to hold weight, began unraveling under scrutiny. Hip-hop insiders started dissecting not just his bars, but his intent. What they found made the backlash even worse. Drake had positioned himself as the real boogeyman, but fans couldn't ignore the irony. Instead of striking fear, the track exposed how much the pressure was eating at him. For the first time in his career, the narrative wasn't under Drake's control. He wasn't dictating the cultural conversation, he was chasing it. And then came the shocking reveal. Industry leaks began circulating, suggesting that Drake's round 2 wasn't even his first attempt. Rumors swirled that multiple drafts of the diss had been scrapped before this version was released. If true, it meant Drake had hesitated. Something almost unthinkable for a rapper who built his empire on confidence. The idea that the self-proclaimed God was second-guessing himself only fueled the perception that Kendrick had him cornered. Meanwhile, Kendrick's silence continued to escalate the drama. Each day, he said nothing. The pressure mounted on Drake. Fans started calling Kendrick's silence the deadliest diss track of all time. Social media flooded with posts. Drake is fighting shadows while Kendrick is chilling. But Kendrick wasn't just chilling. Behind the scenes, whispers from studio insiders suggested he was holding something nuclear. The talk was that Kendrick had another track locked and ready, one that would expose details Drake couldn't come back from. Whether these rumors were true or just hype didn't even matter, because the fear of the reveal was doing more damage than any lyric. Drake could spit. This was the shocking twist. Drake's attempt to reclaim power had backfired so badly that even the possibility of Kendrick responding was enough to keep him on edge. Fans weren't asking if Kendrick would reply, they were asking when he would finally pull the trigger. And the escalation didn't stop there. Hip-hop journalists began pointing out the cultural impact of this battle. The shift wasn't just about to rappers, it was about the future of the genre. Was Drake still the face of mainstream rap? Or had Kendrick permanently redefined the standard for lyrical dominance? What was once just a rap beef had now become a cultural referendum. The longer Kendrick waited, the stronger he looked. The more Drake tried to fight, the weaker his punches felt. By this point, the rap world wasn't debating who won the round. They were debating if Drake's legacy itself had just taken a fatal blow. The reaction to Drake's failed round 2 attempt was immediate and brutal. Social media turned into a battlefield, and Drake was taking hits from every angle. On Twitter, memes flooded timelines within minutes of the track's release. One viral post read, "Drake said he's the boogeyman, but Kendrick turned him into Casper, ghosting the whole rap game." Thousands of likes and retweets showed just how quickly the internet had chosen sides. Fans weren't just laughing, they were dissecting every lyric, every delivery, and comparing it to Kendrick's last assault. For many, it wasn't even close. The consensus was clear. Kendrick's silence was doing more damage than Drake's words ever could. On TikTok, creators stitched Drake's track with Kendrick's old verses, pointing out how the older lines still hit harder than Drake's newest material. The hip-hop community wasn't silent either. Veteran artists began weighing in. Some, like Jadakiss and Busta Rhymes, hinted that Drake's bars lacked the venom needed to take down a giant like Kendrick. Others outright mocked the attempt, with one producer saying, "If you call yourself the bogeyman, you better have nightmares in your pen." Drake came with lullabies. Even within Drake's own circle, tension started showing. Industry whispers suggested his label wasn't happy with how the round played out. Executives had reportedly expected something career-defining, but instead got a track that looked rushed and uninspired. That kind of disappointment doesn't stay private for long. And soon rumors spread that Drake was scrambling to record again, desperately trying to find a way to salvage the war. Meanwhile, Kendrick's camp was calm, almost eerily so. Associates of the Compton rapper posted cryptic emojis, fire, skulls, and chess pieces hinting that Kendrick was several moves ahead. Fans clung to these tiny signals, convinced that a master plan was unfolding. One Instagram post from atop Dog producer read simply, "Sometimes silence screams louder than words." It instantly went viral. The industry also started to take note of the cultural shift. Radio hosts and podcast analysts debated openly whether Drake's dominance was officially over. Hip-hop journalists wrote think pieces declaring this beef as the beginning of a new era, an era where lyricism, authenticity, and patience mattered more than charts and catchy hooks. Even casual listeners, not just hardcore rap fans, began tuning in. Sports stars, Hollywood actors, and influencers all jumped into the conversation, most of them siding with Kendrick. LeBron James reposted a meme of Kendrick sitting on a throne while Drake stared up from below. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Drake's cultural stranglehold was slipping. What made it even worse for Drake was the timing. Every failed attempt gave Kendrick more power without him lifting a finger. The public perception flipped completely. Drake wasn't the hunter anymore. He was the one being hunted, and in the unforgiving world of hip-hop, perception is everything. Just when fans thought the storm had settled, that Drake's round 2 had fizzled and Kendrick had won by default, the game shifted again. Whispers began circulating late at night. Kendrick wasn't done. The silence that had haunted Drake wasn't weakness, was strategy. Insiders claimed Kendrick had been in the studio all along, recording something so sharp, so destructive, that he was waiting for the perfect moment to unleash it. One anonymous source even described the track as career-rending, so powerful it makes the hard part for feet sound like warm-up bars. If true, Drake's boogeyman persona would not only be dismantled, would be buried 6 feet deep. But here's the real twist. Some industry voices hinted that Kendrick might not even need to drop another diss. Instead, he could let the culture crown him while Drake spirals into desperation. That strategy winning without lifting a finger would be the ultimate flex. Fans debated fiercely. Would Kendrick strike again or let the silence crush Drake? Then came the wildest rumor yet. A mysterious snippet began circulating online, 30 seconds of grainy audio, supposedly featuring Kendrick unloading vicious lines about Drake's manufactured legacy and paper-thin crown. The snippet spread like wildfire before vanishing, leaving fans questioning whether it was real, a leak, or part of Kendrick's psychological warfare. For Drake, the walls were closing in. Every day without a clear win tightened the grip Kendrick had on the narrative. He was no longer fighting just a rival. He was fighting history itself. And history wasn't on his side. And here's the cliffhanger. Top Dog Entertainment teased a major announcement scheduled for next Friday. No details, no explanations, just a black and white graphic with the words, "The King Speaks." Instantly, the internet erupted. Was this Kendrick's final strike? A tour, a full album aimed at Drake. Nobody knew, but the timing was too perfect to ignore. Now, the world is holding its breath. If Kendrick delivers what fans are expecting, Drake's empire may never recover. If not, maybe, just maybe, Drake gets a chance to climb back into the fight. Either way, one truth is clear. The next move could redefine hip-hop history. So here we are, the stage is set. The tension is at its peak, and the future of hip-hop feels like it's hanging by a thread. Kendrick Lamar has already crushed Drake's second attempt with silence sharper than any diss. And now, with whispers of a final move on the horizon, fans are asking one burning question. Is this the end of Drake's reign or the rebirth of his fight? This is where you come in. Because this isn't just a rap beef anymore, it's a cultural war. A moment that will be remembered years from now when people talk about the greatest rivalries in music history. So we need to hear from you. Do you believe Kendrick is about to drop the nuclear diss that finishes Drake once and for all? Or do you think Drake has one more card up his sleeve, surprise response, that could flip the entire narrative? Hit the comments right now and let your voice be heard. Are you Team Kendrick, standing with the king of strategy, silence, and unmatched lyrical dominance? Or are you still riding with Team Drake, believing the so-called boogeyman has enough left in the tank to prove he's still worthy of the crown? And don't just stop there. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, your timelines. 'Cause the more people we bring into this conversation, the louder the culture speaks. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Whether it's a diss track, a full album, or just the weight of history crushing Drake's legacy, this is the battle that will be remembered forever. Stay locked in. The king is about to speak. Speak.